Luke chapter 24, we'll begin or continue this morning with a discussion of these women. We've talked about these women, sir.
I want to ask a question back in 23.
Okay.
One says it was a dugout tomb, like with a lid on it, and another one says it was a cave that had a rock to it.
One of them described it as a hole in the ground with a lid on it?
Yeah, you know, somebody they closed the tomb up and
right.
And Christ or God rolled the rock away.
Right. Yes.
I was thinking that it was like into a mountain. There was a hole, and they put a rock there.
Right.
To seal it up.
Right.
But why I think St. One of the writers said something about it was dug out of a rock. I mean, it was just a big rock laying there, and they dug a grave out of this rock.
Yeah, well, it says that Joseph of Arimathea had hewed it out of a huge rock or a stone.
Yeah.
Apparently, he had found a big rock out there, and he'd hired some folks to go in there with hammer and chisels and make him a burial place.
Yeah, and I was thinking, one writer said something was just like just a big old rock down there, and they hewed it and put a lid on top of it. I mean, I was thinking something like that.
Oh, I think it had an opening to it like the mouth of a cave, is what I intend.
They had to have the line put back to it.
Right, they rolled a stone across the mouth of the cave.
And God rolled the stone away.
Right, absolutely, yeah. But I think this one was man-made.
It was.
He had hewn it out, probably not himself, he may have helped, but he had hewn it out of a rock, which to me would have been a pretty good job. He didn't have no electric hammer now. Edgar, you know, they're out there with a hammer and a chisel, I guess, but at any rate.
Go ahead.
Okay. Luke chapter 24, we want to notice these women again. You know, we sometimes we discuss about ourselves that we need to be making a diligent effort. 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 5, we are to diligently add to our faith virtue, temperance, and things like that. Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 6, God is the rewarder of those who diligently seek after Him. We're going to notice this morning that these women that we're going to continue to talk about, they're going to make a diligent effort. And me comparing myself with it, is Heather sick? Is Heather sick? Pardon me?
She's out of town.
Oh, she's downtown. I'm sorry, I just missed her. These women are going to make a very diligent effort to do something. And you know, as I compare me and myself today to these women, folks, I ain't made a diligent effort to do anything. You know, sometimes I think I made somewhat of an effort, maybe halfway tried, but these women, they made a great effort to do something that they felt like they needed to do. And, you know, we want to measure ourselves by these women. Notice the extent that they went to, the circumstances they endured just to serve the Lord. Luke chapter 24, we'll read the first 5 verses here. Luke chapter 24, verse 1. Now upon the first day of the week, very early in the morning, this is talking about the women, came to the sepulchre, bringing the spices which they had prepared, and certain others with them. And they found the stone rolled away from the sepulchre. And they entered in and found not the body of the Lord Jesus. And it came to pass, as they were much perplexed thereabout, behold, 2 men stood by them in shining garments. And as they were afraid and bowed down their faces to the earth, these angels, these 2 men, said unto them, Why seek you the living among the dead? He's not here. We'll probably maybe get to that also, Burnell. But notice, this is the first day of the week. Notice that they came very early in the morning. Early in the morning. Couldn't they wait until after lunch? I mean, what's the rush?
You know, Ricky, this first day of the week, this is a new change on the calendar.
Yes.
Because the Sabbath is ended 6 a.m.
Yes.
First day of the week began.
Yeah.
They got up on their Monday morning. They're going about their day. You know,
Yeah.
This first day of the week, it wasn't on the Sabbath. It was.
Oh yeah, this is the day after the Sabbath.
And I mean, they just got up on regular time, get it to go to work.
Andy, let's sleep in. Why don't we change our time? 9:45 pretty early in the morning.
Let's move it to 6:45.
Huh?
Let's move it to 6:45.
6:45. It'd be all right with me. I could, we're up at 5 every morning, 7 days a week. Yeah, but yeah, the Sabbath day's over. This is the first day of the week. This is what we would call Sunday. You know, Mark chapter 16 and verse 9 tells us that Jesus rose early on the first day of the week. These women got to the grave early. So Jesus rose even more early on the first day of the week than the women who got out there before daylight. Jesus rose early on the first day of the week. He was buried just before sundown on Friday evening. He was in the tomb Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Matthew chapter 20 and verse 19 tells us that Jesus on the third day, he would rise again. And a lot of people take the opinion, well, you know, he wasn't in the grave for 3 days. He wasn't in the grave 72 hours, Andy. He wasn't. And he was not. It said the third day he would rise again. It did not say he's going to spend 3 days, and three whole days in this grave. Notice Mark chapter 15, so we can sort of clarify this a little bit. Not that it's a big problem for us. I don't think that it is. Mark chapter 15, verse 42. One more page over, verse 42. That Jesus has just now died on the cross. Verse 42, and now when the even was come, because it was a preparation, that is the day before the Sabbath. Joseph of Arimathea wants to get Jesus down on the cross and get him buried. It's evening of Friday evening. He's going to get him buried before the Sabbath day is going to start. Sabbath day is going to start on Friday evening till Saturday evening. Sundown Friday evening till Saturday sundown. And so Friday, Jesus' body, Friday evening late, is going to be placed in this tomb. He's in the tomb part of Friday or Friday evening, as we would look at it. Mark chapter 16 and verse 1, when the Sabbath day was passed. Now Jesus has spent the day, all day Saturday, the Sabbath day in the tomb. Jesus rested on that particular Sabbath day. He rested the whole 24 hours on that Sabbath day. Mark chapter 16 and verse 9, now when Jesus was risen early the first day of the week. He's going to rise. He's still in the grave, that tomb, part of the first day of the week. He's going to rise early on that first day of the week. But he spent part of Friday, all day Saturday, part of Sunday, the third day, and he rose from the dead. The third day, he was going to rise from the dead. Didn't mean that he's going to spend 3 whole days and 3 whole nights in the grave. Anyone have any comment about that? But notice, these women, they came early in the morning. John 20 and verse 1 says that it's still dark. You know, as soon as these folks could get there, they're going to go out to the cemetery. Rose early in the morning. You know, they had things to do at home, didn't they? We got to cook dinner. We got to cook dinner. You know, they had things to do, but they're going to go early at daylight to the cemetery. The first priority with these women was they're going to minister to the Lord. Remember, they followed him all the way from Capernaum. Capernaum is on the northern end of the Sea of Galilee. Pretty good ways, pretty good walk from Capernaum down to Jerusalem.
I think you just answered the reason why they were right there, the priority.
Priority. And you know, where's my priority?
Up to Jerusalem.
Up, go up I said down, but Jerusalem, you did go up too. You went up the hill, you're right. You're paying attention, aren't you? Okay. All right, but notice they brought with them these spices with them. Verse 56 of Luke chapter 23, let me get back there. You know, when they left the cemetery, they saw where Jesus was buried. They saw where he was laid in there in the tomb. And they returned, went back to Jerusalem and prepared spices and ointments. What's the big hurry? And we said last week, these women were probably tired. They're tired. Followed him all the way from Capernaum. They stood there all day watching him being crucified. They followed him out to the cemetery to get him buried. Now they've gone back to Jerusalem. We got to get these spices together now. We got to rest. You know, the Sabbath day is fixing to start. Let's just wait on that. Observe the Sabbath day. We can sleep in on Sunday morning. after we done that, we can do the spice stuff and we'll go out to the cemetery late that evening. That's what I would have done. What's the big hurry?
We don't want him to smell.
We're going to talk about that in a minute.
As I said last week. it was-
You're right, Harold. Sir?
Their custom not to embalm, so they had to prepare.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, but he'd already been prepared. I mean, he'd already been
they had to
prepared.
freshen it up.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Had to go wet the cancer spray back down, get the quarterback.
Well, okay. But, yeah, what's the big rush? Why do this now, or early in the morning? We're still tired. We're still tired. I'm tired, Andy. You know, let's wait and go this evening or maybe even in the morning. I've got all kinds of,
Don't put off today what you, don't put off tomorrow what you can do today.
I knew you'd come up with that. Andy, I've got all kinds of excuses to not do it. We don't have to do it now. I'll probably never get around to it, but my intention is I'm gonna, well, I probably never did. You know, that's just what we do.
And good intention left undone becomes a bad deed.
Yeah. Well, isn't that what we do, though? Their intention was to minister to the Lord. He's dead. They followed this guy all the way from Capernaum. He's dead. There's no reason, there's no reason going. Why not? Let's just let him go. Go ahead.
I want to throw a stick in your butt.
Okay.
These women and the disciples, they didn't understand, but they had heard he was coming back. Don't you think maybe just in this woman's mind they wanted to go out there and check on him?
No, I don't.
You know?
We're going to talk about that. Did they know he was going to rise from the dead?
They had been told, but they didn't understand it.
Okay. They'd been told it.
They'd been told, but they did not grasp the
Did
concept.
not understand
They did
it.
not understand it. They knew it,
Yes,
but they hadn't accepted it.
they didn't know it. They had heard it, but they didn't understand it. This angel was going to ask them, why are you here looking for the living among the dead? Do you remember what he told you when you were yet in Galilee? And he told them what he told him. And they remembered it. They remembered it, but they didn't understand it. We'll get to that here in just a little bit. But notice, and Andy, see, you got my mind all messed up now, but that's okay. It stays messed up. But I just talked about John chapter 19. Remember, Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus had prepared the body for burial. Remember, Nicodemus brought 100 pounds weight of myrrh and aloes. 100 pounds. And they put that in with this sheet that they're going to wrap him up in, that Joseph of Arimathea had bought that, purchased it. They mixed all that 100 pounds, I guess, in there with Jesus' body, wrapped it up, put it in the tomb. Why do they need to do that again? And Andy suggested last week, and he's probably right, that the women would probably do a better job than the men. And that's probably true. Us men would just dumped it all in there, wrapped him up, and rolled him, put him in the grave, and we're through. They're going to do a better job. That's probably true. Mark 16:1 says they came with their spices to anoint the body. Back to the question now that we quit last week with, is it okay for these women to touch a dead body? Notice Numbers chapter 19. Keep in mind, these women had observed the Sabbath day. They kept the Sabbath day. Luke chapter 23 and verse 55, I think that's what that was. But these same women that are going to keep the Sabbath day because the old law demanded that, Luke chapter 19, notice what it prohibits something also. Luke chapter 19 and verse, where did it go? 11. Luke chapter 19 and verse 11. He that toucheth the dead body of any man is going to be unclean 7 days. Notice verse 16. Whosoever touches one that is slain with a sword in the open field, whoever touches a dead body, or whoever touches the bone of a man, notice this, whoever touches a grave shall be unclean 7 days. Can these women go out there and touch a dead body?
Notice, when I looked at that this morning, review as well, yesterday afternoon, notice verse 12 of that passage, and I don't have the answer for it. He shall purify himself with water on the 3rd day and on the 7th day.
Yes.
Could it have been possible that these women went out on the 3rd day to begin this purification process? and they would put it on the seventh day?
Say that again now.
Would it have, they went out on the third day, the third morning,
Well, they went on the first day of the week.
well, but he'd been dead. They touched his body,
Yes, on the third day.
on the third day, they went out to start purification. I have to read verse 12 of Numbers. And it says, he shall purify himself with the water on the third day and on the seventh day.
Okay, but they're gonna go through 7 days of purification.
Yeah,
From the day that they touch the dead body.
yeah, somewhere there around.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's what that means.
okay.
So that's, it's just gonna be 7 days. They're gonna touch the dead body, okay. It's gonna be 7 days, in 7 days we'll be clean again and everything's forgiven and passed and everything's okay. If these women went out there and did that, probably some people back in town are gonna know that and they're gonna be frowned upon. You women, you kept the old law of observing the Sabbath day, but now you've gone out there and touched the dead body. You keep part of it, you don't keep part of it. Well, it's just a 7-day quarantine, if you will.
Brother Rick,
Sir?
don't you reckon, back then, I don't think the women were very important,
Okay.
and those guys that Nicodemus and them probably didn't say, hey, we're gonna take care of the body. They probably didn't even know about it, or they wouldn't have brought the extra spices.
Okay.
Don't you
And
think?
that may be true, Harold. That might be true. That the women were sort of subordinate to the men, yes, sir?
Let's look at that a different way.
Okay, go ahead.
When Christ died upon the cross, the old law was done away with.
Yes?
That reading that you read that
Right.
was done away with. Now, Joseph was under the, more or less under the new law now, wasn't he?
Did Joseph know that at the time? That he's fixing to be under a new law? Did these women who went out there and touched the old...
That law had been done away with.
It's going to be done away with at the cross, but did these people know that at that time? The old law don't matter no more. We can just go do whatever we want to. I don't think they knew that.
No, well, they probably didn't.
No, they probably didn't. But they're violating the old law. But notice what else they're going to violate. What time period is this? Remember, the Passover is passed on Friday. We've had the Sabbath day, Saturday. The Passover is going to be followed by 7 days of what? Unleavened bread. We've got a special feast. And they're going to violate even the special feast. They're going to be unclean for this special feast. And that apparently didn't matter either. And look, I'm not condemning these women. What I'm telling you about these women, what the point I want to make is they're making a very diligent effort to minister to the Lord. They're going to put their service to the Lord is going to take precedence over the old law. I think that was their intention. We'll be unclean 7 days, and that's okay. We might endure a little persecution because we touched the dead body, but they're going to minister to Christ no matter what. No matter what. I mean, they're going to make a diligent effort, Michael.
I've already kind of said this, but the Numbers passage,
Mm-hmm.
kind of they have to do something to prepare for the body. They're not
Yes.
just going to let somebody die, let them
Right.
sit there. So it doesn't really, to me, as I say, you can't touch a body, but if you do, you have to, if you have to prepare a body, then you do have to go through that cleansing process.
Right.
Not necessarily that was against the law.
Right, yeah. And maybe to 7 days of quarantine, to us, maybe that's not a big deal. We can quarantine for 7 days, but the big thing for them, it wasn't the 7 days of quarantine, it was just, you violated the old law here. And especially these 7 days, this is a special, remember that particular Sabbath was a high Sabbath. It's a special Sabbath. They have a Sabbath every day of the week, just like we have the first day of the week every week. But this was a high Sabbath right after the Passover, and now they're going to violate this sacred commandment of this was a high Jewish feast. This feast of unleavened bread for 7 days. They will participate in that either. I think that they put their ministers serving the Lord precedence and priority over the old law. This is what led them in their belief that this is the Son of God. He might be dead now, but they're still going to minister to him regardless. They're going to make a diligent effort. Didn't matter to them what other people thought. Anyone have any comment? Notice verse 2, Luke chapter 24. Well, notice the last part of verse 1 there, chapter 24. There were certain others with them, along with some of these notable women. Notice verse 10. Certain other was with them. It was Mary Magdalene and Joanna and Mary the mother of James and other women that were with them. There were other women with them, verse 1. It wasn't some men now. Still the women. It's still the women going out there. Verse 2, notice, and they, the women, found the stone rolled away from the sepulchre. They arrive there, they get there, the stone's rolled away. Mark chapter 16 and verse 3 tells us that on their way out there, they're trying to, they just remembered, that big stone's on the door of the door of the tomb there. How are we going to roll that out of the way? And so they decided, since we can't get the stone away from the door, Harold, they just went back home. There's no need going. No, they're still going to make a diligent effort. That's a good excuse for me. That's a good excuse. There's no need going. With my back like it is, Andy, I'm not pushing on that rock. No, I'm not. And these women, all of this is women. They can't shove that stone out of the way. Matthew 27 verse 60 says that they rolled a great stone across the mouth of the cave. A great heavy stone. Now we got a bunch of women going out there. They've realized, what about the rock?
God does for us what we cannot do for ourselves.
Okay. And that's sort of like 1 Corinthians 10:13, the Lord will make a way for us. He will make a way to escape. The Lord will make a way for us to do what we think we need to do if I'll just try. But folks, with my back, I'm not. Let's go back home. It's too early in the morning anyway for us to go out there. These women were diligent in their effort. Notice John chapter 11. Andy, what was that you just said? See, I've already just forgot it. God will do
for us what we cannot do for ourselves.
Okay, does he expect me to do what I can do?
Absolutely.
Okay, John chapter 11, in verse 39, Lazarus has died. Jesus had made it to the household of Mary and Martha. Lazarus is dead in his tomb out there. They go out there to the cemetery. Verse 39, Jesus said, take away the stone. They had to roll that thing out of the way. Why didn't Jesus just roll it out of the way?
There were people there to do it for him.
Sir?
There's people there to do it for him.
There were people there. The Lord expects us to try to do what we can do. These women probably could not have rolled the stone away from the door. No, they probably couldn't. So the Lord took care of that for the women. If it had been me, if I'd been there in their company, I'd tell them, we're wasting our time. I'm the only man among you women, and I'm down in my back, and I'm not rolling on the stone, so let's just all go home. That would be a good reason not to even go out there, These women could have decided there's no need going. They could have been tempted, let's just stay home, but the Lord provided for them. Man, they persevered. They went on anyway. We're not going to let that little deal to stop us from going. Notice Matthew chapter 28. Now here's the one, folks. I'd have stayed at the house. If I'd been there, I'd stayed at the house. Matthew chapter 28, verse 1. In the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn towards the first day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to the sepulchre. Verse 2, and behold, there was a great earthquake. We're having an earthquake? And these women are on their way out to the cemetery. We're going to have a great, not a tremor. We're going to have a great earthquake. Andy, I'd have went to the house. I got to go home and see if the house is still standing. There's another good. You know how many good reasons these women wasted them? I've got a lot of excuses. None of them's any good. These women did not use one of them. An earthquake. Bunch of women. It's been cold and rainy, and it might be cold and rainy, maybe snow on the ground, and Andy, don't look for me until maybe next Sunday. Maybe. If we have an earthquake, I sure ain't coming. These women went on. Were they diligent in their effort? I mean, what's going to stop this bunch of crazy women? You know, I wouldn't have went. You know, if we had a great earthquake, I'm probably not showing up. It didn't seem to bother the women. But you know how a woman is, Harold? Hard-headed. You know, they're just going on. Anyway, notice where...
They were dedicated.
Yeah, they were dedicated. Makes me look bad. And really, that makes me look bad. I feel wasted all these reasons, man. I could have picked out any one of them. Would have been fine for me. Notice verse 3. The stones rolled away, but we had this earthquake. They entered in and found not the body of the Lord Jesus. They get there, they went right in. I'm not going in there. There's a dead body in there. Notice John chapter 11. We didn't read all of it just a minute ago. What was another reason? And Harold mentioned it a while ago. John chapter 11, verse...
Martha told us, don't open that tomb, it's going to smell bad.
Yeah, that was one of the sisters. Take ye away the stone. Martha, the sister of him that was dead, said unto him, Lord, by this time he's stinking, for he'd been in there 4 days. Jesus had been in the grave 3 days. Harold, I've never smelled the odor of a dead, decaying human body. I understand it's pretty rough. I don't want to smell that. The other reason is I ain't going out there. He's been dead in there 3 days. I ain't going. He's stinking. Who wants to go out there and smell a dead body? He's stinking, Andy. There's another good reason to not go. But notice these people, these women, verse 3, they entered in. They went right on in. They didn't hesitate. You know, their mindset was to minister to Christ. They've already followed him from Capernaum. Now they're standing right there in his tomb. Why not go right on in? Well, he's stinking. I ain't going in. Y'all go in if you want to, but I don't want to smell a dead body. You know, look at all the excuses that they could have used. But you know, it's early in the morning. Let's wait till later. He's stinking. There's no reason to go. Remember that heavy stone? No use in us going out there. You know, we just had a great earthquake. Let's go back home. We'll go later, maybe. So once the earthquake's shaking, well, we better go home with weather like this. With this earthquake going on, we better go home. We know we can't touch a dead body. Our intentions are to do right, and we wanted to do this, but we've just been prevented. Every which way we turned, we wanted to do that, but we were just prevented from it. They didn't quit. Were they making a diligent effort? Compared to me, yeah. Don't even compare them to me because, you know, that would sort of be embarrassing for me. Can we find excuses to not do what we know that we should be doing? It's just an excuse. It's not a reason. Can I convince myself that I know what I should do, but I've got a lot of reasons, Andy, for not doing it? Lots of them.
We convince ourselves that God understands and don't expect us to.
Do what now?
We convince ourselves that God doesn't expect us to,
Yeah.
so therefore we're okay.
Did you notice all the obstacles these women just plowed right on through?
What should that teach us?
Do what now?
What should that teach us?
I can probably do more than I think I can do. Yeah. And I think I've just knocked myself out.
Just get up and try.
Get up and try.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Don't
Pat about my back.
get all those
My back.
excuses out.
You know how bad my back hurts?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So there's a good excuse right there. James chapter 4 verse 17. The person that knows to do good but does it not, to him you get a big reward for it. No, it's sin. If I know to do good, and Harold, I've got all kinds of reasons for not doing it, well, folks, it's sin. These folks made a big, diligent effort to do what they thought was, they had good reasons, these women had good reasons to do nothing. And yet they went on and made this diligent effort. That they're in this tomb, there's no body, it's empty, there's no dead body, there is no stench, no smell to, even that there was a dead body in there. They didn't hesitate, they went right on in. Notice Acts chapter 2. Why wasn't there a hint of a smell of a dead body?
Because his body did not see corruption.
Okay. Acts chapter 2, we have the Apostle Peter on the day of Pentecost. Notice verse 29. Peter's still speaking here. He said, "Men and brethren, let me freely speak unto you of the patriarch David." This is King David. Let's talk about King David a minute. That he's dead, he's buried, his sepulchre is with us this day. Notice verse 30, "Therefore David being a prophet, and knowing that God had sworn with an oath to him, that of the fruit of his loins, David's descendants according to the flesh, would raise up the Christ to sit on his throne." Verse 31, "David, seeing this before, spake of the resurrection of Christ." Notice this, that his soul would not be left in hell, Hades, or paradise, and his fleshly body did not see corruption. His fleshly body would not decay or rot.
He wasn't finished with it, Ricky.
He wasn't finished with it. Lazarus' body was stinking because he'd been in there 4 days. If Jesus had done it, the normal person, the average person, his body would have also begun to stink. It probably would have been stinking, and if it had been that way, Dustin, I ain't going in. Who wants to smell a dead, rotted body? Ain't going in. These women, they went right on in. But they didn't find a dead body here. The physical body is gone. No odor even to that a dead body had been laid in there. Notice verse 4. Anyone have any comment? Verse 4. "And it came to pass they were much perplexed." What's perplexed mean?
Confused.
Confused, puzzled.
Understand, puzzled.
I don't understand this. I don't understand this. Did these women know that the body had been in there? Verse 55 of Luke chapter 23, "The women also which came with him from Galilee followed, and beheld the sepulchre, and they saw how his body was laid." They knew there should be a dead body here.
That's what I would know.
Yeah, but Andy, look. This is a bunch of women. You know how they are? They get confused. They're at the wrong tomb. Oh, okay. Dan, I'm not picking on the women. I'm picking on us men. With men, sort of, we think that the woman does get confused. Not really. You want to see confusion? Come around me and Pat's house sometimes, quite often. She's reminded me of something that she told me, and I'm telling her I don't remember that at all. And I don't. And I'm telling her, and she don't remember nothing either. And it's, we've got a little older. That's okay. We don't pay each other any mind anyway. But yeah, we get confused. Maybe these women were confused. They're at the wrong tomb. No, they weren't at the wrong tomb. These women didn't expect the tomb to be empty, but notice what else they didn't expect. Verse 4, they were much perplexed thereabout. 2 men stood by them in shining garments. They weren't expecting 2 men in shining garments. They were looking for a dead man wrapped up in grave clothes, and now we've got 2 men in shining garments. Verse 23 of chapter 24 tells us that was a vision of angels. These 2 men, that was 2 angels there. Andy?
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Matthew's account says an angel.
Yes.
Luke's account says 2 men.
Yes. But Luke also clarifies it to be two angels.
Where was the first angel in Matthew?
Do what now?
Where was the second angel in Matthew?
I think John says there's 2. Mark says there's 1 also.
That was.
I don't know the answer to that. Nancy, don't ask me. It's something I don't know the answer.
I just,
Ricky.
Pardon me?
I shouldn't say anything.
Do what now?
Maybe I shouldn't say anything, but I just want to get away from this point. That if we know there's something God wants us to do,
Mhm.
why not just go ahead and do it? Because,
I'm tired.
and how that affects me as a Christian when I don't just go ahead and take care of the problem as best that I can. If I don't immediately do it,
Mhm.
even all the people around me see that I'm not doing it.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so they're thinking, she's a Christian, is this
Mm.
really important?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah,
Did
it's
these-
our influence, we have to, it's done so much, Christians have done so much damage with the way they react to things. And that's what we need to get in control.
Mhm.
I have control over whether I obey or not. But you gotta think, you know, just because you're a Christian doesn't mean you're innocent of all.
No,
Because
no.
we all have done it, you know.
These were very strong women too.
Yeah, they are.
But not only strong in faith, they were very courageous.
Yes, they were.
If I'd have met the Lord out there that morning, said, "Don't touch me," because I know that I'm out of here, Lord. Because you figured that I go.
Mm-hmm. When he appeared to the apostles, they thought they'd seen a ghost
That's
or a
what I'm
spirit.
saying. You know that did enough for me.
Yeah.
I'll
Oh, I
have
know.
to by the cemetery, but when the ghost shows up, I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm.
That's something you just.
But now we've got, they're standing there looking at two angels, no dead body, and they're possibly thinking maybe in their head now, maybe we shouldn't have come out here anyway.
No,
No, you don't think so?
they went on.
Well, if I'd been there, Andy, I'd have told them. You know, I'm the only man in the group, and now I'm gonna stand there and tell you, I tried to tell you women, I tried to tell y'all. You out here wasting your time. So let's all go home.
But look at the blessing. Look at the blessing these women received by being the first ones at the master's tomb that the apostles did not receive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who did it benefit the most? The women or Jesus?
The women.
The women.
The women.
Those who experienced it.
Yeah.
Those who did the right thing.
Yeah.
It did more good for them than it did for Peter and James,
Yeah.
John,
Yeah.
and those boys.
When they go back to tell the apostles, they ain't going to believe them because the apostles they forgot what Jesus, well, they didn't understand what Jesus had told them. The apostles didn't understand that. We'll look at that next week. We're not going to get to it this week. But notice verse 5, they're afraid. These women now finally, we've gone through an earthquake, you know, and we're talking to people here in shining clothes and as they were afraid now. Now they're afraid. Finally they come to their senses, Edgar, these women. They should have been afraid. They're afraid, you know, that they'd wasted their time. No, that's not what they're afraid of. You know, everything was working against them, this heavy stone, the earthquake, the touch of the dead body, the stinking, you know, everything early in the morning. They should have known better than that. They should have known better. Now, you know, looking back at it, and they're afraid that people are going to be looking at them looking like, y'all were crazy. Where are you going out there? Y'all are crazy because you've wasted your time going out there. You know, they weren't afraid of that. The reason we don't try sometimes, you know, we're afraid that we might end up doing the wrong thing when we're trying to do the right thing, and so we decide we won't even do it. Yeah, and that's another good reason. These women were not afraid they had done anything wrong. They're perplexed. They just did not understand what's going on here. We know that body was in there, and now it's empty. And we'll look next week. I think it's in Matthew that I think it's Mary Magdalene is going to go back and tell the apostles somebody has stole the body. And that's what they all decided. The apostles are going to agree with her. That somebody has gone and stole the body. The tomb is empty. We wasted our time going out there, but not really. Anyone have any comment?
Well, that it says the women came to the tomb But I can't remember which one it was. Another version says that Mary Magdalene came and stooped down and looked in.
Right.
And then Jesus spoke to her.
Or, yeah.
Alone, in other words, she was the only one there. But he spoke to her, and she turned and started as a gardener
Right.
of the garden.
Right.
And she turned when she said, like master, body, some word she used, body, I don't know.
I don't want to get too far off of that. Why didn't Mary recognize him?
Well, he had hidden his. It caused her eyes not to be able to do that. The two men on the road to Emmaus didn't recognize him either. You know, but no, Mary Magdalene went back and told the apostle they stole the body. That's when Peter and John ran out there, and the tomb's empty, and then they believed too that somebody had stole the body. They didn't remember either, or didn't understand what Jesus had told them back in Galilee. Edgar?
I might be jumping ahead or not understanding what I see. In two of the books, they said, wait, you'll see him in Galilee, but then that particular time, when she turned around, he was standing there and she didn't recognize him. So I mean, he was right there then.
Right.
Two of the other books said they wouldn't see him until they went to Galilee.
Right, and he may have been, they may have been talking about the apostles. He would meet up with them all in Galilee. He had appointed someplace in Galilee beforehand. This is where we're going to meet now after I rise from the dead. Well, he didn't understand that either. But anyway, next week, Lord willing, verse 5, well, Pat and I may not be here next week if the ice is melted. But at any rate, the next time this class meets, we'll begin with verse 5 of Luke chapter 24. Thank you for your help this